and it just shows me, it's going to say, okay, we're in this model.
In the universe, a thing that we call mothers
So I don't remember ever. Maybe
hold you when you're crying and love you. The great news is that when your mom drops her phone, she's still there.
I have a question. Has everybody downloaded
The hope is, guess
models
what? You're the one at the
from
wheel
the
here.
resource folder?
You're the one who can
Put them
help.
into
You're the
the
one who
Stable
can
Diffusion model folder?
get back on your meditation cushion, or get back to your therapist, or get back to your exercise routine, or get back to all of the
And then who's
above.
using local?
You're the one who can do that. That's the great hope.
So just keep your hand up the whole class.
Try to find harmony in your house. Try to find peace in your home, and because that's where the real change will come from. And it doesn't have to be like blood relatives or anything like that. It's your community. It's the people around you. It might be your cats. It might, who knows what it is. It might be your relationship with yourself. But that's the hope part. That's the hope part. I mean, because let's imagine that it goes the opposite direction than everyone's saying. Let's imagine one of these fucking UFOs flies over the planet, cools it down to the right level, sucks all the carbon out of the atmosphere, puts some oil in the ground, whatever it may be, evaporates all the oligarchs and tyrants and fascists, whatever it may be. Let's imagine it happens that way. So what? You're still going to be of much greater benefit to the people around you if you found a way to be peaceful and kind. Either way, if you want to find like a rudder for the ship that of your existence, of your incarnation, I think that rudder is exactly what Ramdas said. We work on ourselves so we can help the people around us. That's the hope. That's the only hope.
Where do the control net models live in the local install? Are they in the models control net or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you ready to go? Yeah. You ready to start? No. What? Yeah, we were just about to. Yeah, go for it.
You need to record to here?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. The airlock is closed. Oh, okay. Got that. Cool. Everyone, welcome. Just to give you a little bit of point of reference, since we thoroughly disoriented you getting here. You are at NYU. This is the Tanner School of Engineering. This place is called NYU Tanner Yard or 22. This is an emerging media center that we've been building out for a while, since 2018. We'll do tours later on when we get to the break. We'll have tours later on after we chat. We do graduate level education here. We have research partners. We have industry partners in space that are doing stuff together. We call imagery capture, motion capture, in-camera VFX, all of the ways representing human form in virtual spaces. So if you have a fun, crazy project you want to work on, let me know. And here's some way of engaging students or teaching right now. My office is right there, right next to the pantry. The pantry has glasses and water and coffee and espresso and oat milk somewhere, latte or industrious. We have bathrooms just right here to the left. So there's both men's and women's rooms and also ADA compliant rooms there, so feel free to spread out. And then we'll show you the rest of the place later on, just focus on this, just want to show you where the emergency exits were. And again, I'm Todd, so I'm going to be written on. And we have a few graduate students who are running around the building on meetings. Yeah, we have a collection of beers. We're going to ice it down, and that way everyone can extend their stay here. Since you went all the way here, you might as well test instrumentation. You might as well stay for the whole all 5 stars. Yeah. Cool. All right, enjoy. Thank you for work today.
Thank you, Tom.
I don't know if I need that microphone. Can you hear me well this way, or it's good? Does it look like really professional? Okay. Hello everyone. I'm Aysu. Welcome to In-Depth AI Workshop with Stable Diffusion. Thanks all for joining us. We are happy that you are all good with Think Diffusion and local setup, and the Discord channel sounds like it's running. Anytime, just type your questions in the channel. I have invited you guys, so that's how we are gonna mostly handle the Q&A, but always jump in, raise your hands. So we are AI Whisperers. We have an extensive background in commercial art, space, and visual effects, using AI for the last year in multiple projects that we are going to talk about today. And we love AI image making and want to do this workshop for to share what we have been up to and to create a community and just see where this tool can take us further. So quick intro about each other. We are going to present today, 3 of us, David, me, and Matt. So I will first go. I'm Ice, one in the middle that generated those images using Stable Diffusion. And I have a background in architecture, that's where I'm coming from, but I've been in the XR space for the last few years, working on AR VR projects and also implementing AI into the design and ideation process. We have worked on a few architectural projects in the VR space, as well as logo design, brand identity, like a wide range of offerings. And I'm gonna pass it to David.
Hello. I graduated from my degree with Todd in 2014. I was in visual effects world before that. I was a animation director and also did sort of post effects, so it's like rendering, lighting, and all this stuff. I've been in the XR space since then, so I'm doing mostly virtual reality production, prototypes for startups is sort of the primary thing. I've been working in healthcare for the last 4 or 5 years. And over the last year, since I've been these tools have become hugely available, I've been doing as much with AI as I can. So part of this workshop is informed by projects that I'm doing with clients. So that includes AI-generated environments for meditative VR experiences, AI-generated backgrounds for video games, and other kinds of content. Also, it's just fun to do, so I've also made some music videos. I worked that music video for one of my favorite bands called Sporus, which is what was playing earlier. So that's going to be one of our case studies.
Can you guys hear?
Do you want to play your...
I can also like pass the microphone.
My name's Matt. I know a lot of you guys actually from working in VFX for the last 20 years, so I'm coming from an animation, special effects, TV, film background. I was pretty reticent about using AI for a while, you know, like a lot of artists, and then Dave sort of turned me around with it because I could see that there's a lot more than just prompting. You can actually, you know, get pretty creative with it and put a lot of labor and use it collaboratively. So that's what got me into it. Besides that, yeah, mostly coming from a 3D artist background, so I'm pretty excited about a lot of tools that we're going to show you guys today, particularly at the end, about how to work Stable Diffusion into your existing pipelines and sort of make the most of it. And that's it.
Oh, thank you. And now it's time to know more about you guys. So who is in the room? We are just gonna do a very quick introduction, name, background, and what are you expecting from today? What are your goals? I'm gonna go first as example. I'm Aisu, I go by Ice. Background in architecture, and for me today's goal is to connect with you guys and to share my experience. And if you can start from that part, or if you wanna start from here, we can just go around.
What's
Lee?
your sign?
Is it Lee? Okay.
What's your sign?
Yeah, share your sign if you want.
I can go first.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Yola Martinez. I am surprised to know I went to school with two of the folks at very, very different times of afraid fighting. But in my time at school life, I've done everything from like children's television to VFX to I've worked at different times. I'm actually quite a club. I also paint and make comics, so I know everything visual. I've been very curious about using this professionally, but also personally.
Thank you.
Diana, I'm from a visual effects background, and I also film production, visual effects, animation, and heavily involved with audio production, and very experimental in that department, and I've always been interested in the combining of the two. And it's very labor intensive. There are things that I'm trying to do for years through the modeling and the laborious aspects of that. And I'm really interested to see how I could potentially bring some long dormant projects to life, harnessing some of this power. Cool. Yeah.
So, just in the interest of time, if we can keep all of our answer. This is not a
Do you want to teach us?
in the interest of time, if you go around, just like try to keep your answers to like 5 to 10 words.
I like tacos.
Hi, my name is Lee. I'm currently enrolled at Pratt taking an AI course, and I'm next week coming out 90 days so I can take this class. I know these guys from 3D effects and I think Sheen and I actually worked together like decades ago. Yeah.
My name is Doctor. I think the label I use in my background, so it's my information to get some of the content and AI and this workshops a way thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Sharing my background in gender design. 4 years ago I started an AI startup. I've done a lot of work with AI, but not much gender design.
I'm Aaron, and I created most sort of AS piece powered by human biometrics, coder, and voice call, and I'm working with AI as soon as
My name is Paul. Work with the effects as a compositor, and I'm interested in AI for personal projects that have been difficult to realize because they seem daunting. And this tool might enable me to do that. And also, just professional, I keep up with the industry, so this is a lot.
Rui, I'm a creative technologist. I've been focusing on stuff for the last 10 or so years. I've been leveraging AI for AR and XR, mostly from the UX standpoint, the data, but I'm interested in seeing how I can plug in the engineering visual side.
teacher, within XR space for a while, when you are in Dumbo, and then you go over the design cases for generating worlds.
I feel backgrounds of
and do the social media reviews and galaxies, and also like mess with Stable Diffusion home for social media, focus on creating core concepts, mostly around
and then we're hoping to use this to make it like work and for fun.
My name's James. I have an animation design background. I also have a few of these people from working with them for decades. I just want to learn more about AI. I'm taking a class through the Columbia School of Engineering in AI, and it's not generative. And I just want to learn more about it.
Tim, I'm an art director with a background in graphic design. I work in the PR and marketing space as a couple of years in the music agency. Really trying to learn capabilities of this specific program and how it works.
I'm not a designer really, but I was working in a data tech from like account management and creative direction and art scale. And so I didn't know how to use financial sound. I had to know a little bit more about how to utilize this. So it kind of brings me to the business side. I'm a creative specialist at School background in post production, and yeah, I just want to see
My name is Josh Frankel. I'm an artist, animator, filmmaker, and I don't know if it's narcissistic or lazy, but I'm curious if I could train AI on myself.
Yes, we're going to do that today.
I'm Lisa, I'm a user experience designer, I'm a mom. And I'm interested in AI for concept
Yeah, great diverse background. Thank you guys. Okay, so now we know more about each other. Now let's talk about the agenda very quickly. We are a little bit behind the schedule, but we will try to make up our time. After this intro, I'm gonna jump into prompting basics. David is gonna cover text-to-image basics, and we'll move on image to image. And after the break, we'll dive into more like extensions, how to use ControlNet and Deform, training models, API, and then we are gonna have no Q&A part. But during the training, feel free to jump in and just type your questions in the Discord as well. Don't wait for the last minute Q&A. We are just happy to make it more interactive and more like sharing during the training. And I had the hard part to explain what Stable Diffusion is. It's basically, I'm just gonna read it from here, but gonna dive deep into more in the next slide. It's a deep generative artificial neural network that uses latent diffusion models. So many words that I had to learn when I was learning Stable Diffusion, but there are very clear reasons why we love it. It's open source, right? And it's expandable, it's hackable, you can integrate it with through API to many other softwares outside and create products using Stable Diffusion. And how the sausage is made is the part that we are really excited about to share. I lost my clicker. Sorry, because I'm excited about this section. Okay, so here you will see on the left side the pixel space and the latent space on the right side. And this image on the left, the original image, is getting noise in the forward diffusion process. We are adding noises. So it's basically in the latent space where you can imagine as if it is like multiverse, while in the pixel space we are in this three-dimensional world, right? The image is sent to the latent space, adding the noise, and basically that's how Stable Diffusion is decoding the image. And then when we enter the prompt and insert more images, it's getting the reverse diffusion process by denoising the image. So the noising is the key when this process is happening. For me, it helps to understand just imagining pixel space as our world, like three-dimensional, and latent space is like multiverse world, that the noising and all this magic happening. And we are gonna dive more technical later when we are talking about, but this is a more simplified version, understanding the system, forward diffusion and reverse diffusion, and noise is the key ingredient while this communication happening. And the use cases of Stable Diffusion are various. It can be used for generative and interactive art installations, or it can be integrated to Unity, and you can generate AI-powered game design tool that we are working on. Website interactive landing page, or we have used it for architectural design, texture generation, and mapping. We even use it for logo design and brand identity development for inspiration. So it's kind of various range of possibilities using Stable Diffusion, just because like hackable tool. And so you all have connected to your Think Diffusions, and feel free to launch. And we are gonna go to the interface. And the first thing you are gonna see is also on your local Stable Diffusion as well. It's a bunch of buttons and spaces to fill in, and it might be a little bit confusing at first, but I will try to make it more clear for you. So first of all, for the local access, we enter the IP address on the top to launch it, but for the Think Diffusion, it's a click just launching the Rapid A1111. And then on the left top side, you see the Stable Diffusion checkpoint part that we can switch between the models. But these are all the pre-trained models that we can download online, and they are also free accessible. But on the Think Diffusion, you have all the options already downloaded, so you don't need to worry about like downloading any of them. And on the bottom of it, we have this menu that we are gonna use a lot, switching between text to image or image to image, or like going to the training or the settings extension. So that's our best friend. Underneath, we have positive prompting section. We say positive because we also have the negative prompting. So when we are talking to AI, when you share what you imagine, like let's say people are dancing by the beach around the fire, the moonlight in the background, blah blah, and then it suddenly generates the image with a boat on water, right? But you didn't want that, and then you can add that boat in the negative prompting for the second round, so it's gonna disappear. So it's like you have more control over on what you are seeing on the image. And yeah, so the start button, the giant orange button on the right side is right click after you write the prompt, and on the right bottom side, the output image is gonna pop up. This is like a very simplified version of how Stable Diffusion works, and the control menu is like we are gonna switch between the extensions and the training model, the Aura. This control menu is gonna give us so much more control over what we are generating. So hope interface looks more familiar now, and we are gonna slowly jump into the prompting overview as a high-level prompting. To have a basic idea. I mean, most of you guys are familiar with this concept, but we are just gonna cover quickly for those who are new to the space. It really helps to think, asking certain questions when you are generating image, like how you communicate with AI really matters. I'm kind of making it like similar to how we used to Google things in the very early stage, like forming full sentences. Like, what is the best restaurant in the city? But now you just type restaurant New York, whatever, right? Just enter the keywords. So it's basically similar. You just need to point out the keywords and making sure that, asking a question, painting or a photo, right? Let's say you just say like high-res photo, and next you are like, like portrait orientation, and like high contrast, or like asymmetrical, or wide angle. Actually, maybe you are adding the wide angle to the beginning when you say the photo, right? And deciding on the sunlight or the studio light. So it's kind of giving you more control on the output when you think about different categories. Or adding an artist name, like by Dali, or like, any artist that you want. We recommend choosing that artist. So that's actually something to point out, that we don't want to duplicate the living artist's work. And it doesn't have to be grammatical, right? Just dumping the keywords and using the commas to separate sections. And the syntax is like helps you to emphasize on certain parts. Like in this example, we have a very basic prompt: breakfast table with eggs, bacon, and pancakes. And you have this yummy photo, right? It's like very realistic, and it's okay, yeah, it works. But what if you add so much more on top of that, make it more detailed? Beautiful close-up HD 8K photograph, like as in rainbow, blah blah, all those like fancy words you throw. You add this artist name by Beksinski, and adding this like sci-fi living room keyword and everything, and then you end up having more complex, more detailed image that you are looking for, if that's what you are looking for. And those double parentheses are used to emphasize on the keywords that we are entering the prompts. So there are different tricks that we can use to manipulate the prompting even further to add more data in it. In the next section, David is going to cover more about how prompting is going to affect the text to image, but basically, like adding more details, like this example, is there a cat in a tree or a cat in an apple tree, right? Like making more specific. And you can also use that either or, that you can generate both images at the same time to compare. In this example, we test in and on, or apple or orange, or we can add like painting or photograph, right? So Stable Diffusion is giving us all those options with different combinations, and you just have more control over selecting what you want. I think that's kind of wrapping the basics, interface, and prompting basics. And then I'm going to give the floor to David. Thank you.
Any questions before we go on to the next step? That's a good question. We can share a link. I need to change my screen mirroring first. Give me just 1 second. Okay, I think I'm missing something. How do I mirror screens? Select the extend. Duplicate. Okay, so duplicate, but I think we're connected to 3 screens now. So let's see, I think I need to disconnect one of the screens. Or, let's see. Let's see. So this is 2 and 3. So let's do extend. Well, I want to be able to see it on my computer at the same time. Okay, I finally got it. Okay. Okay, we're gonna dive into the world of AI with like how to use Windows 101. Okay. Okay. Stable diffusion. I'm just going to start from scratch real quick. I think the first thing that I will jump into is the idea of a seed. Oh, great. They didn't confirm. I didn't confirm. Okay. There we go. So the idea of a seed. So if I say a breakfast table, let's say. So I have this image, and if I hit generate again, I'm going to get a new breakfast table because my seed is set. Let's do it again. Do it again. Okay, this is the last time. I done. Oh, there we go. Keep changes all the way over here. Okay, we're just having some screen confusion. Okay, so because the seed down here is set to -1, this just means that every time I run this, the seed is going to be different. But if I set the seed to anything else, any positive number, starting with 1 and going to as big a number as we can stick in there, it's going to be the same every time. So I'm hitting generate and generate and generate. It's always going to be the same. So this is good for if you want to tune prompts and get more specific with things, or if you want to see what effects your changes in prompting has on the image. So if I say instead of a breakfast table, I'm going to say a dinner table, but I'm going to leave the prompt, I'm going to leave the seed the same. So it's totally different. So very often you will see that like small changes in your prompt can like completely change your image even without changing the seed. So I'm going to say a breakfast table again, and then I'm going to say, let's say, I'm going to try to just change something very small. I'm going to change it from a breakfast table to the breakfast table. So it's less of a change, but still a change. So even little things like that make a difference. So we can also add stuff into the negative prompt. So if I say coffee cup, so it changes the whole image and it has now raised the coffee cups. So this is very handy because part of what's interesting for some people about Stable Diffusion is that it's uncensored. And the negative prompts are a really good way to censor things when you need them to be censored. So I'm just going to go through the variables inside of this generation area. So sampling steps basically refers to how many iterations it goes through as it's generating the image. So if I turn my sampling steps down quite a lot, it's going to render very quickly, but it's not very refined. So basically, as I turn up steps, you can kind of see what process it goes through as it converts noise into an image. Generally, more steps will lead to more detail in an image, but not necessarily. Yeah. It doesn't quite work like linearly like that. It's not like sort of an amount of like style like that. So it's really just like sort of like how much detail does it pull out of the noise. So there's going to be kind of a sweet spot. And I'm going to show you how to do a series of images with different variables in there, so you can see what I'm doing, but all in one step. So width and height is hopefully obvious. Pretty much most, if not all, of the models, maybe except for SDXL, are all trained on images that are 512 by 512. So it does a really good job outputting images that are 512 by 512. If you go like smaller and bigger, you'll see that like they kind of work to a certain point. But at some point, like things start to break down. So, you know, generating 1024 by 1024 images tends to make images that are sort of grainier and softer and don't quite look as nice. So anytime you see an AI-generated image that's higher resolution, it's because it's gone through an upscaling process, which we're going to talk about. So you start with a low-res image, and then you up-res it, is the typical workflow. CFG scale stands for Classifier Free Guidance Scale, and the description here is how strongly the image should conform to the prompt. Lower values produce more creative results. So my experience with CFG scale is that it really like it adds contrast, basically. So a lower CFG value, like you know, by appearances, tends to be somewhat softer and looser, whereas higher CFG values tend to become harder edged and higher contrast. So classifier-free guidance is an interesting topic, and you don't have to like understand what that means. Basically, for the most part, you want to stick to anywhere from like 6 to 10 for your CFG scale to stay within the realm of normal. But again, I will show you how to like do a ramp of images so we can see variations on that. So the sampling method is basically how the noise gets denoised. And correct me if I'm wrong with that, Matt. So this is how the noise gets sampled.
Yes.
So we have lots of options here. The default that comes up here is this DPM ++ to amp-Keras. Euler A was the old default. And they will provide different results. So sometimes you'll see small changes. Sometimes you'll see like drastically different changes by changing your sampling method. Yeah, so there's something, so anything that, where you see A, basically in the process of removing noise, it actually also adds noise for each step. So it's like kind of remembers the previous step and adds noise into it. You don't need to know that stuff. I am liking the results from this Keras one. So there are multiple ways to up-res. A really nice way is this high-res fix option. So if you want to go right from like 512 to 1024, we can basically do that here, where we generate a 512 image first, and then we immediately take that and up-res that into a 1024 image. So I'm just going to set this like upscale by 2. We have many options for upscaling. Again, this will sort of like change the results. Denoising strength. So this is an image-to-image term, and this is basically how similar it's going to be to the input image. So the higher this denoising strength is, the less similar it will be to the original image, but sometimes turning up the denoising strength can improve the quality of the output image. So I'm just going to set this off really quick, and we'll see a process of making a 512 image, and then it is up-resing it to a 1024 image. So it looks much nicer right off the bat. And then we can take this, bring this to the next level of up-resing, there's an extras tab in there, if you see that at the top, and it's like easy to, let's say, multiply this by 4, and then we can chop it up and multiply it by 4 again to make poster size images.
See this upscale on the web.
Do you see an extras tab in there? So what I'm going to show you really quick is this XYZ plot. So XYZ plot is a really nice way to just look at some variations quickly. So I am going to, let's say, swap out the model that I'm using. So, let's see. So I'm using a checkpoint right now called deliberate. Is this better? Okay.
Hey, Dave, were all those models you showed listed, like about 30 of them, are those by default, or did you load those in?
I loaded these in. So the one that Stable Diffusion will download for you by default is this version 1.5. I've personally had better luck with 1.4. And then these are some other ones that I downloaded. SB is actually one that Matt made for our previous workshop. And Deliberate's basically, so the 1.4 and the 1.5 models are Stable Diffusion's models, and they are, you can do lots of different things with them. It's like you can take them in lots of different directions, and you can get them to feel lots of different ways. So they're very flexible. But to get them to a place where they are good takes a little bit more work. You kind of have to do a little bit more prompt magic because a lot of the time you can also get worse results. So if you don't take the time to really massage your prompts, you kind of wind up in these in-between spaces where it's like sort of the style is neither here nor there, and like the images don't look that nice. So by default, it's harder to make 1.4 and 1.5 look good, but it is possible to make it look more unique, I would say. Deliberate is nice because pretty much everything that you make with it looks pretty good right out of the box. But it's a little bit more, like it kind of takes you down a certain path. So I don't know if you've all used Midjourney, but when you hop into Midjourney, everything that comes out of it looks kind of the same. Like it looks great, like it does a very good job. I tend to use Midjourney for like stock images, or if I just want to do something really fast and not think about it, and I want to have a certain look, Midjourney is great for that. So Deliberate kind of brings you in the direction, or other checkpoints can bring you in the direction of getting to a place where you're just like making stuff that looks good with a little bit less effort.
Is there anywhere we can look each checkpoint
So this is a website that has lots and lots of checkpoints. And you can basically go in here and they have example images, and there's different kinds of models here that are good for different kinds of things. So some of them are big general purpose models, some of them are very specific things like LoRa's, which Matt's going to talk about, that will help you like produce very specific kinds of things. So this could be, let's see, this is specifically a Donald Trump one. So these things, are trained on people, they're trained on styles, like lots of different kinds of things. There's like a pixel art one in here somewhere. So people have, gone in and taken existing models and then added dozens or thousands of their own images from their own library and like tuned it to create certain kinds of images. So this is one website we'd recommend getting models from, and this is another one. Tensor.art and Civitai.
We'll be putting all these links into a post-class broadcast for you. Yeah. So don't worry about taking notes too much.
So if you want to see how different models behave, this XYZ plot basically lets you do comma-separated values, and it will just generate different images based on what's in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a few models. We'll do 1.4, we'll do 1.5, and we'll leave it there. So now, so this one might be especially slow because it has to load in these different checkpoints, and that takes some moments. And if I'm running locally, I can actually like keep track of progress down here. So in my command line area, I can like see what's happening, and if errors pop up, like they'll pop up on my command line here. So yeah, the way this is working is like a website is not Stable Diffusion. This website is basically taking commands and converting them to Python, and like it's using Stable Diffusion's like Python setup to communicate with the model directly. So there's lots of different front ends that you can use to communicate with Stable Diffusion. Automatic 1111 is not, I don't believe, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Automatic 1111 is totally separate and independent from Hugging Face and Stability, as are all of the other UIs. And you can like use them together, and communicate with these via API as well. So Automatic 1111 has a way to basically push all of the buttons in the interface but via the API. So I will come back to that. Okay, so here is what different models do. So actually this is pretty interesting because it's like these are very, very similar, but the angle is different, which is interesting. And here's like the difference between 1.4 and 1.5. So 1.5 came out later, but it's not necessarily always an improvement over 1.4. So you know the way to see what's going on is like this. This is a quick way to do it. So in addition to checking out that, as you can see from the dropdown, there are lots and lots of different things we can change in here. So let's see, one thing we can check out is, let's say, the CFG scale. So I'm just going to start low and just bring it up higher and higher. Okay, so I'm just doing comma separated values, CFG scale, we'll render that, and then we can see what comes out of there. And then while it's doing that, we can also basically we can test seeds, we can test steps. So this is like a really nice way to get in and very quickly sort of batch through like testing of variables.
Is everybody logged into Discord on your computer? Because I need to send you an image for the next section that you're going to use. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, so there's an option down here to draw the legend. So like once it pops up, then we can see here like how the CFG scale, let's see, is it going to let me zoom in? It's not letting me zoom in. So if I click this Open Images output directory, then it's going to pop open my Explorer, and this is actually, I believe this is going to go to Text Images Grids. Yes. Yeah, this is on the local drive. I'm not totally sure how Think Diffusion handles that stuff. So low CFG value up to very high CFG value. So I can go through all of these, but I think everybody gets the idea of like the XYZ plot. Yeah, so we can do like different axes. Super useful, use it all the time. So you'll see another script here called Prompt Matrix. And basically what you can do is, oh look at that, do not do anything special. I think that's a command. There's something here called Prompt Matrix, which works in a kind of a strange way. It's like basically it allows you to try out different parts of a prompt and it merges them together. I don't like prompt matrix very much. I don't find it to be especially useful. There's another one called dynamic prompts. And you can, if it's not installed, you can install it via the extensions, and we'll come back to showing you how to load up extensions. But the nice thing about dynamic prompts is that what we can do is go in here, and I am going to make some curly braces, breakfasts, and I'm going to separate them with types, lunch, and dinner table. And what's going to happen now is that it's going to iterate. Actually, it's going to, I think in this case, because I didn't click this button, it's just gonna choose one randomly. So I'm not sure if that's breakfast or lunch or dinner. Will our PNG info show us? I wonder if maybe I'll hover over to PNG info. Okay, so under PNG info, what I can do is pop in here, and we will go in here, and we will grab that image. Okay, so the lunch table. So now I know like what prompt to give it. So the metadata that went into making the image comes out. So you can actually go in, and a lot of sites where people are posting images, they're posting the original PNG files, so you can download them, pop them into PNG info, and get all of the information back out of it. So I know that this was the lunch table, it randomly chose between these, but I can also click this nice little combinatorial generation, and it will give me every one of those and put it in a grid as well. And then we can also, we can combine them together, so they can say red, type, blue, breakfast, lunch, dinner table. Also, like our initial image didn't have any people in it. I kind of like that, so let's see if I can remove people. Humans, boys, girls, men, women, everyone, human beings. Oh, and actually I realized I'm still on high-res fix, which I don't want. Sorry? Dynamic prompts. Oh, one thing I didn't mention was the refiner. So the refiner actually allows you to go through and change, you can change the checkpoint that's actually getting used to generate an image, like part of the way through a generation of an image, which can give you some really interesting results as well. So we can like start with 1.4 and switch a little bit, or vice versa. Okay, just wanted to turn off high-res fix. And I'm going to do this a little faster, so hopefully we'll get our red and our blue. So we got, okay, so it does appear that it was able to remove all of the humans. So great. So you'll see that just like changing it from red to blue also changed everything else about the image. And there are controlling AI generated images is a real challenge. And Aisu is going to be talking more about control that soon. I'm going to pop open my slides to see what topics I may have missed. I think I covered most of what I wanted to cover with those basics. Model, sample size, banding resolution, speeding up with LoRa. I'm not going to talk about LoRa's. Yeah, I think that covers that. So installing the models. So basically you pop in here, you download a model, and then you need to put it into your go into your Stable Diffusion directory, and you go into models, and you go into Stable Diffusion, and you just drag and drop the model files that you get into here, and then they will show up and you can use them. And you can see that there's lots of different kinds of things happening here. So when you get control.NET models, they will go into the control.NET folder. And obviously lots of different kinds of models are happening in different things here. So I think that that is the end of this section. And now, do you want to use my computer for internet, or should we switch over? Okay, so one moment please. I'm gonna switch over. Any questions while we do the switch?
Is it long enough or not?
You have USB?
No, it's HDMI.
Yeah, for the online like platform, you have everything already available.
I can come over there, David.
Yeah,
Is it
they're
too
already
much?
in there. So
I mean, if you're fine doing it here, then that would obviously be much easier.
download the model is only for those who
If you
are
don't have a USB cable,
cloud is
I don't know.
providing you all the
I'll do the image to image section here.
That's what we are paying for.
You have a 512 by 512 blank image saving your computer?
I paid for the infusion, but it just ran out after the trial, and I'm not sure why it's not giving me what I
Local
need.
credits, yeah, minimum time.
So I paid $20,
Wow.
and well, like it's acting like I didn't pay.
Do you want to make it like later?
Got it.
Yeah, it says I have to balance. It's just not going to use it.
How do you save a 512? In here. In Photoshop or?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I could have increased the time, but.
So right now,
You know, it's in Discord.
Yeah, you really need to play.
Yes, you do. You can't do sketch without it.
Okay, so Matt is.
I put it in Discord for them. Is Discord open here? Is Discord open on here?
Yeah, I saw the stop button, I just, I won't be able to apply my credit for some reason. Thank you.
So right now Matt's making a blank 512 by 512 image that he's going to draw on inside of the interface. So if you'd like to follow along and do like a sketch to image, you can do the same thing. So you just need like a white or black image, right? There's like
You can restart.
refresh button in a browser. That might, yeah, maybe it'll restart potentially.
Yeah, you can restart the UI. You usually gotta restart the radio UI. Alright, so can everybody go to Discord, grab that 512 by 512 white square? Okay. And then you're gonna go over to Automatic 1111 and click on the Image to Image tab, right here. You're gonna see that right there. Okay. So everybody got it? Raise your hand if you are not following along. Yeah, it's just a white square. Yeah. So once you've got your white square loaded in image to image, you can click upload, or you can drag and drop it like this, like so, up on the screen here. Looking good. Actually, before you click this sketch, right here, sketch. Raise your hand when you're done. Okay.
So you're basically dragging and dropping it.
Yeah. So click the sketch tab, drag that bad boy in there, and we can get started. Select your model. Everybody, I'm recommending delivered version 2 or version 3. Either of those work fine. Okay. Are we all ready? All right, let's get weird. So
Is the Silicon model in the checkpoint?
yeah, up in Checkpoint, delivered version 2.
Sorry.
You can actually
download from Discord. I know that's very basic, but
ask one of those guys. Yeah.
okay, yeah, I can't get this thing downloaded. The image, so why you click on the right?
All right, we're gonna get started here. So once you click Sketch, you're gonna see this this interface right here, and we will be able to start drawing. So click on the palette here. Select black. Okay. You can get your it's going to give you a little paintbrush. Alright, so let's paint anything you want, but make it sort of like some kind of animal. I would like to do a cat personally, so I'm going to recommend you a cat. So if you go ahead and drag your slider, you should be getting something like what I'm getting here. And we can just start to be really artistic here. Give it like a little body. Let's go, you can give it some ears. All right, is everybody following along okay? Who said no? Yeah, I don't know about doing that on an iPad, but I will show you. I'll show you after, yeah. All right, folks, does everybody have like a... Yeah, iPad is tricky, but you can just watch what we're doing, Diana, and you'll be able to see that. So my cat looks like a mutant, but that's okay because that's why we're using Stable Diffusion. Does everybody have like a cat-like object of some kind on their screen right now? Carmine, we went to art school together. What are you doing?
Every time my cursor goes into the square, it disappears and I'm not drawing.
Yeah, click
I've selected black as a color.
click on the I see, just try to walk them through Sketch. We're going to go through this in the slides, so we'll all have a second opportunity. All right, cool. So now go up to your prompt. The prompt section right here. And let's say a cute black cat. Or photograph of a cute black cat. All right, we're going to leave all the settings at default. Hit generate. Oh my god, look. You guys, we made a cat. I know, we're done. Let's change the tail to be like in a different place. Let's put the tail over here. I'm feeling like that tail is offending me. And we'll hit generate again. Holy crap, look at that. Alright. So Sketch is like a pretty janky way to draw stuff, but like imagine bringing stuff in from Photoshop or like you know, and this isn't even getting into ControlNet, which is like this function, but on steroids. It's a lot more powerful. But Sketch is a really fun way just to bang stuff out real quick. There's a lot of websites that use it. There's like phone apps that use it. Leonardo is one that's pretty cool that uses Stable Diffusion backend. But yeah, this is how you can get started. So if we jump over here, we're going to start messing around with the bits and bobs of it. But as you can see, we this is what's going on. So we can change things. The first thing we're going to talk about, does everybody have a cat of some kind? Can you work with just James and I'll come back to you, Carmine? You guys can double team. Everybody's got the cat. Raise your hand if you don't. Okay. If no one's able to help you, just sort of try to pair up the person next to you to get through this part, and we will definitely come back to you so you can do this on your own. But if we're all basically where we need to be with our cat, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the screen up here. We got the CFG scale, which is the classifier for the guidance that Dave mentioned before. Basically what CFG means, classifiers are the tokens that are fed to the model to train it. So it associates like words, which are called tokens, with image characteristics. So we're telling it how close to stick to those words. Now, if we bring the CFG scale down, it's going to look more like the sketch. So if you look here, the cat on the left looks like, you know, like it's got a little bit of some issues maybe. And the one on the right looks a little more photorealistic, but as you can see, it doesn't match the drawing exactly. So the one on the left, we're going to CFG scale down. We're saying, listen to the words less, look more at the image, even if it doesn't look aesthetically pleasing. And if we make it, if we push it up, it deviates from the image, the input image more. Because we're feeding the model two things here. We're feeding it both tokens, which are words, which is what it's been trained on, and we're also feeding it our own picture. So in this case, that's what's going on. So basically, high value equals strict, low value equals weird. I'll do a little example of that. I encourage you to do the same. You move everything as it is. Bring the CFG scale real low. Bring it down to 2 here. Let's see what happens. You can see it looks a lot more like the silhouette, even the misshapen face looks more like the sketch. Bring it back up here. Take it high. Put it to 15, it's probably over 15. Usually 7.5 is good enough. And as you can see here, a higher scale is going to make it more like the words. All right, what's next? You guys all get a chance to check that out? Okay, cool. All right, next slide. Now, let's say you get a picture and you're like mostly okay with it. You can do it in image to image, you can do text to image, doesn't matter, but what I want you to do right now is I want you to go into either text to image or image to image and create a cat either with the sketch or just with the text prompt with no input image. That should take you about 30 seconds. I'm going to let you do that. Cool. Alright, so I'm gonna go text to image, and I'm gonna say a very cute orange cat. Dave, do you have all this like batch stuff up here with prompt matrix on? I don't want to hear it. It's Earth. No. So, denoising strength, we can definitely get into a little bit more, but essentially it is like how much it refines the image by removing the noise. And you can definitely overdo it. Here's just a quick detour that we want to squeeze in here for you. But we put denoising strength real low. We're going to keep the seed the same. Where's the seed freeze?
The denoising is just how similar it is to the existing image. So if denoising is 0, you get the same image out.
That's right.
If denoising is 1, it'll still be influenced by the input image, but it's going to like be a pretty different image.
Yeah, so check it out. We put the denoising strength down to like almost 0, and it's basically not doing anything to the image at all. Usually around 7.4 is good if you're feeding it an image. Put the config scale down to 7. 4 is usually pretty good. There's like a breakpoint around 0.5 where it does nothing and then suddenly it like makes an image. So we're going to put it up to 0.75, which is the default, which is usually pretty good. And then it starts to turn into an actual cat. But even like 0.1 less and you get like nothing. Thank you, Dave. Alright, so scooching back over to image. I got this weird ass cat. I'm just gonna. Oh, thank you. Sure.
So that recycle, the green recycle button right there, that allows you to load up the seed of whatever the last image was. So if you like the image, you just hit that recycle button and you get it.
Okay, so either in text to image or image to image, it doesn't matter how you make your picture, but as long as you have a picture right now, we're going to replace the face on it while keeping everything else the same. And that's something called in-painting, which is like, you know, once you start getting into making stuff with AI, chances are the hands are going to be messed up, the face is going to look busted. So you're probably going to want to get in there and do that stuff. So we're going to cover in-painting, which is very useful. So you'll notice here in the slide, depending on whether or not you're a text image or image to image, there's 2 different ways to basically send the image. You don't have to like save it to your computer and reload it. You can send it directly to the in-painting module. And that's going to happen right over here. So yeah. So let's go, for those of you that are in text to image, just follow along, and then we'll do image to image in a sec. Click on your beautiful picture, and then click on that little palette right there. Boop. And that's going to send it over. For those of you that made your picture with image to image, do the same thing. Click on the little palette. And what should happen is, it should activate the in-paint sub-tab over here. Okay, and you should get your image in the little canvas area. Does everybody have that? Sweet! Alright, so let's, I mean, this cat's face is really cute, but we're going to erase it. We're going to do some surgery here. So like this is going to take into masking. Those of you that are in VFX and animation, you know what masking is. So those of you that are not, masking is basically creating a isolated area for limiting your operations to just that area while you want to keep others untapped. Alright, so first thing we got to do is we want to keep the seed the same that we used to generate the last one. So let's say we don't do anything right now, and we leave the prompt empty. It looks the same because we didn't do anything. So we're just gonna replace the face. So take your mask brush, get it to a nice, you know, reasonable size. Just cover the face here. Just this area. Okay, and there's a bunch of options that I'm going to run you through in a second, but we're just going to work with the default options right now. In paint masked, leave it on over the original. Okay, and now we're going to say a cute black cat face. Okay. Now, see, it's changing. It's changing stuff here. I kept the seed the same, so you're going to get one result and it won't change. But as you can see here, it's going to keep the body the same. So if you like stuff that's going on with your picture, and you just want to replace one part of it, this is what you want to do. You can also do the background. You know, like let's say you like your cat, you can like rotoscope it yourself with a mask brush. You can use one of the main extensions that like automatically do object detection based on machine learning and like isolate it. But you know, there's a lot of ways to do it. But you can use this for just replacing the background as well. So did everybody replace the face? Okay. I mean, let's get weird and let's type like Donald Trump.
Mask mode and mask.
We're gonna go through that in a sec. Yeah, thank you. And the denoising thing is gonna. All right, so this is, you know, it's not really looking like Trump because it's using the rest of the image. All right, so let's pop over here for a second. I'm just gonna read you some of the options here. So one of you asked about this, and glad you did because this is really gonna, it's pretty relevant to how the results are for your in-painting. In-paint mask obviously is going to limit the face replacement to the area that we painted. In-paint not masked is going to, in this case, will replace like the body in the background. So it's like basically inverting the mat. Mask content, you get fill, original, latent noise, and latent nothing. So fill's going to replace the average color of the masked area, which is good if you want something really different. Like let's say you're going to put like a human face on a cat's body, or a dog's face on a cat's body, or like a totally different color cat. Original is going to do, it's not going to really change the noise from the big image. It's good when keeping the image similar and just tweaking. So it's kind of like using the weird latent space pudding that was used to create the image. It's like reusing it, but with different parameters, with different vectors. But it's like using the same initial randomness. So again, if you're like keeping the face the same, but you want to like, tweak it a little bit, or like fix the eyes, you want to use original. If you want to do some more dramatic changes, Phil. Now you got latent noise and latent nothing or other options. We don't really mess with those. It's either above my head or they just some nerds put it in there because they felt like they had to. So going back to the last two attributes here, we got in-paint area, whole picture, which is going to use the native resolution of the masked area. Pros and cons. The good part of that is it's going to look more consistent with the picture. But let's say that you're replacing a face that's like 120 pixels wide and 120 pixels. That's not very big. So that's kind of shitty. So you're not going to get good phase results for that. If you do only masked, it's basically going to take the masked area, scaled up internally into a much bigger canvas, do the denoising in there. James, I think you're going to want to know this one. Whole picture, it's just going to use this small area of whatever you masked. And it's going to look more consistent. It's going to use, like I said, it's going to use the noise and same scale. But if you do only masked, and like let's say you're replacing a small hand or a small face, that's only a small part of the composition, it's going to scale it up before doing the replacement and then it's going to scale back down. So that's good for getting the details in there that you want. Alright, so none of that really changes anything here. Let's look at denoising strength real quick and how it relates to this. Okay. By the way, like if I'm boring, feel free to mess around with the sliders on your own. Actually, say F around and find out. You can do that. Alright, so denoising strength is usually 0.75 is pretty good, but like let's crank it up to 0.88, 0.9, see how weird it gets. Yeah, it's actually kind of inappropriate. Alright, let's go over to take it down. So you see what happens, denoising strength again, it's like how hard we're telling Stable Diffusion to like push on the gas pedal with how it's removing the noise from the image. Because the way the whole thing works with models is it adds noise, starts in complete stochastic randomness, and then it starts to remove the noise and it uses that training data to try to discern what's in the noise. So you're going to get more dramatic results when you put that denoising strength up. Usually, like I said, around 0.4, 0.5 for most models, like nothing really happens. And around like 0.6, things start to get weird. This is a really great opportunity to use the XYZ plot that Dave ran you guys through, if you just want to see like how to get the sweet spot. We're not going to do it here, but again, like fixing hands is a great opportunity. And here's where it gets cool. There's actually special models made that are made just for hands and faces. They've been exclusively trained on high-resolution body parts and stuff. So let's say you made this model with delivered version 2, and it looks great, but it's got like 8 fingers. You switch to like a hand or a face model and use that just for your in-painting. So you can swap stuff out, and downstream it's gonna give you some really good customizations. Yep.
Load in masks that you put on.
Absolutely. Dude, there are so many ways to do auto masking. You can bring in like After Effects projects and like export image sequences. You can do dip patch processing. You can do auto detection. You can use like other models from GitHub to sort of identify the hands for you and then draw rotoscope masks. Like it's crazy when you start looking under the surface of how many tools are available that work with this. Like people have been going, they've been going bonkers with making stuff. It's unbelievable.
So it's specifically in-paint upload and batch, right?
I'm sorry?
Those two are asking about Francis credit.
He's saying are there other ways to bring masks in? Right there.
Oh, there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it. And you can batch a whole sequence. Batching is super powerful. Alright.
Would batching be like bringing it back with a sequence of images? Okay.
For sure. So we are Dave's gonna hop in here and run you some sorry. Oh man. Any questions about this in-painting stuff? Pretty straightforward. Remember you can do backgrounds? Yeah.
How does it work with the sequence of images? Is that where the batching comes in?
Yeah, like let's say you go into Nuke or After Effects or whatever, and you create like an image sequence of a rotoscope map, and then you have like your beauties as well. You could batch that. bring in an image sequence and make. Yeah, you can even, I think in some cases you can embed the alpha in a PNG and do that as well. But that's not really time for that. There's so much stuff we could talk about. There's just like, there's not enough time. Any other questions? Yes? We're going to talk about refining models, so like model training, LoRa's, that kind of stuff. Yes. Yeah, that's going to be another section after this next one. Thank you for asking that. That's important stuff. Dave, are you ready to take them through upscaling and mosaics? Hey.
So I set a little goal for myself. I wanted to make an AI-generated poster, and I wanted it to be very highly detailed, high resolution. I wanted to be able to walk right up to it and see like lots of details inside of it. So I just worked out a little workflow for working with some upscaling tools in Stable Diffusion to make that happen. Basically, this is a printable poster, 32 by 32 inches, and you can walk right up to it, and it is basically a photo mosaic, which is, it's like something that everybody's seen before. It's a very old technique. It's like easy to write code that can like take a bunch of photographs and turn them into a larger image, but it's very easy to do with Stable Diffusion. So if we hop in here, so we got this image to image, and I am going to use a script called SD Upscale. So this is one way to increase the resolution of an image. And basically what it does is it takes the image and it breaks it down into a grid of images, and it does an image-to-image process on each of those parts of the grid, and then it reassembles them. So I'll just show you quickly with the default. So I'm going to take this cat. Let's see. Okay, for my own sanity, I'm just going to refresh. Start again. Cool cats. Is it going to be in? Okay, that's pretty cool. Alright, so we'll send to. Okay, so image to image. So I'm going to go to my SD upscale script. So this tile overlap, basically it generates images, and this is not a Stable Diffusion thing. Under the hood, it takes images that have been generated and blends them together using 64 pixels of overlap. So let's see, do a quick test of that. So SD Upscale can work very well for some things, not as well for some other things. So I'm actually going to turn the denoising strength up a lot, so you should be able to see even more extremely like what's happening here. Wait, something's going on. The SD Upscale. Oh, sorry, I forgot to actually like choose an upscaler, so it's not actually working properly right now. So if I switch it to any one of these, I'm going to do that again. Okay, so now it's doing it properly. Okay, so basically went in and chopped up this image into a bunch of tiles, generated new ones. If I turn this down to a more reasonable number, each of those tiles should more closely resemble the chunks that were incoming. Alright, so it's definitely better. This is a way to uprest things. It has pros and cons. One pro of this method is that if I turn the tile overlap down to 0, and I'm going to turn the scale factor up to 4, and I'm going to turn this up a bit. Basically, this is just a way to make photomosaics, and that's like, it's a very special use case. Not something you're going to want to do every day, but much easier than coding it yourself.
How many mosaic tiles?
So basically, the input image was 512 by 512. So by scaling it up by 4, it's sort of a built-in thing. So this vaguely resembles the original one. If I turn my denoising strength down, it starts to look more like the original one. So in order to make a image that has this many tiles, I had to go in and basically do this in a multi-step process. So take the image, do this mosaic, like chop that image up into separate images, and then batch all of those. So the next step in this process would be to use a tool to crop out each of these individually. FFmpeg can do that, and ChatGPT can tell you how to do it with FFmpeg. And then you run each of those back through the system, and then FFmpeg can also reassemble those things, but you can do it in Photoshop as well. Okay, so the easier way to upres is to select your image, and we can send image and generation parameters to extras tab. So extras, I pretty much only use extras for upresing, and there are some upscalers here. And this is like it's pretty straightforward upscaling, like this does it and you get what you get. Unlike the SD upscale where it's reimagining the image, this is using other techniques for upscaling and it's much faster.
How do you send the image to the extras tab from the other tab?
So right down here, it's this triangle tool. And so now this should be a 2K image now, and it does a great job, and it doesn't really add extra detail, but it does sort of flesh out textures and smooths out chunky lines. So you can do this in multiple steps. You can also do this in batches. So you can fill up a directory with an image sequence, and you can feed it in here and get images out. Not too long ago, I upresed a short animation I made back in the days when 720 by 405 was a common resolution, and I made it HD, and it looks like it was made in HD originally. Like, it works really well. So that's simple. Okay, so that's it for image to image. Is that it for this section? Are we on break now?
Yeah, we're on break.
Okay, so we're doing a break. You can play with the live Zoom if you would like to. We can help you with any questions.
Set a timer for 15 minutes.
So 15 minutes. At 3 o'clock we'll be back here and starting again.
Hey. I'm good. I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
What is the checkpoints again?
Checkpoint model. The model is like, you know what? They train it. And just like the human brain is always learning, right? You just take a snapshot of where it is time. Just like that.
Like that, your explanation. So you start by having an existing large language model, right? Something that understands text.
It's actually called, so the text encoding, it uses Clip, which is like a language model that was released by OpenAI. The first data set was trained on Clip. I don't know if it's an LLM, but it's a language.
So once it has that, it has an understanding of the words that you're using, right? And you feed it pictures.
Yeah.
And it looks at all these different
Yeah,
pictures.
so it's like here's the model, right? Here's the text, and here's the image, and then it goes through something we call encoding, and then it goes into the latent space, right? The latent space is basically like, you know the images you have X and Y? And that's it. And that 4 count RGB. So that's 5. Every pixel has RGB values, so it's coordinate X and Y. Right? So if you touch it, and then it goes into the dimension like multi-dimensional space. It's called latent space. It's kind of hard to conceive, like, and then it takes the tokens from the words. Okay, and I think these are standards. And it disperses it so particle values into that latent space. So that certain pixel values are associated with certain tokens. Alright, so you've got this like multi-dimensional vector where the words are associated with the pixels. And then the prompts go in, text prompt, and that lights up all the different tokens from the words and bring it on. Grabs the pixels that it wants. And then re-encodes that into 3D-dimensional space, and then you get your image. Yeah. Particle cloud.
Your example might have answered my second question, which is, what is the XYZ block used for?
Oh, XYZ plot is great for, let's say you're like, you want to see what happens if you change the denoise scale?
Snap the checkpoints for a snapshot of time.
So basically, it's a model.
XYZ plot.
XYZ plot is what they do the same thing. It's a way for you to say, change this attribute 10 times. Imagine like taking out a particle simulation 10 times, queuing it up with gravity change. Success always. That's what I think.
Brackets and the types.
Oh, that's just the impact for you can do a yeah.
So.
And then you can ask questions.
Thanks. How you been? Where you been? You said you've been around the world.
Still in Greenpoint.
Oh, you really? Yeah. Oh, that's great. I thought you were going out west.
No, I did. I went out for like 3 years.
Yeah.
I got lost. I got stuck during COVID. That was crazy. I didn't know anybody.
Were you living with your kid?
That's another story. How about you?
Yeah, I got a similar long story that had me disappear for about 3 years.
I heard there might be beer after this, so that could be a good opportunity.
Part of my long story is that I stopped drinking.
I was actually I was about to say like I don't want to drink. I haven't drinking much too.
You haven't drinking how long?
I don't really drink much either.
Oh wow.
I'm glad it's fully support sobriety.
Yeah, me too. I had to go off to
I just want to ask you.
COA camp. I took a CD since I got out of rehab.
It works.
Yeah, it worked for me. It worked for a lot of people.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of different things you could apply to this issue. Counseling, psychedelics,
I did all of that. Got myself a therapist, and things were working out. Like I was with a therapist for 4 years, and then I tried to microdose. Mind mushrooms. By the way, mushrooms. Wait, it's great. Eating them fresh, they're good. So, yeah, we could do it.
Yeah. That'll happen.
Woke up underneath the parked car, people were calling the cops. Let out a rather loud scream. It ended up.
Can I ask a question whenever you're.
Yeah, I'm coming right over.
I think I left it. It's cool. So I had some PTSD from that. So I had a collision with one way tracker trail truck. My sister all crushed herself.
Mine is called SD Web UI ControlNet. And Deforum? As far as you can see, Deforum.
Yeah, so compartmentalize it, store it in your stuff.
So after 9/11, all this started to get kicked out. I started having PTSD episodes where I wander off and just wake up at some place not knowing when I was working at Los A Plus site. I think it was a company with a helicopter sent out fire safety.
Yeah, it sounds like associated.
Can you catch up on that much longer?
Yeah, no, I'm
Yes. Why you started talking.
I have that kind of face. And I get one of those, I don't know. It's not installed in the farm town.
Yeah, it talks about like it shows the yeah, we're talking about
It's can't smell.
Let's say like non-local
Yes.
Well, you can also be the
well, with the prompts,
Yeah, there's a lot of samples out there.
good mirrors.
get that next experience almost
Why is the desktop so free and this is like so expensive? Oh, because you're using the server.
$1 an hour don't speak $1.
$1 an hour. I just paid $40 for $5. Didn't I? Or did I buy more than $5? Here, maybe it's here.
Back in can I create software?
It says I have 1947. I spent maybe I'm using, yeah, maybe it's cheaper than I'm just gonna use it and see how it's It's still like more than I wanted to do. I never created a whole week. That's when you learn how good your computer is, right? I'm gonna try to do this.
I'm just curious how you this
There's some assumption. Well, this guy, no, they give him every time though that he's part anime. Here doesn't make sense.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, that's kind of hard on the off and you do like this.
So maybe the problem with the source image.
And what is the title actually the most correct? Human concept. Scale pattern of it.
I did the tiling guy. Here's 912, and then here 10. This is like cheap.
No,
Or is this just like this one? Or is this just Is there a way to file the
Oh, that's dope. It was just got really nice and 3D lighting on it. I mean, I guess it, you know,
I used Ultra VX.
oh. Where's that?
Oh, I just.
Oh, there.
I mean,
It's really cool. You can use
I'm good. I'm just saying what we got. I should still talk.
I'm curious. So one thing I have not known is basically image to image really, and copying more. That's what I'd love to do. But copying more.
Then you, well, you set some parameters and then
Before you get started again,
yeah. Oh, good question. Yeah.
Your interface is sort of
It's seeing your back. It's like a smiley, like a emoji.
Can you hit after on the next or whatever?
we're at time now, so. You want to do it later?
Actually, there's something, there's a quick thing on
You just look at the text, maybe?
Control net?
Yeah.
Are you ready? Okay.
Yeah, that's all the problem.
Yeah.
I just wanted to follow up with one thing with text to image and some syntax. So we can say a breakfast table with an orange sitting on it, let's say. Okay, so we got some orange. So what I want to do is emphasize something in here. So like I want things to be like really orange. So I'm going to put things in parentheses. So this makes it 1.1 times stronger than just orange. So it's like orange when we put parentheses around it. And then I can even do multiple parentheses. So 2 parentheses will make it even. Ooh, let me redo that C so we can see what the difference is. And I'm going to add even more parentheses. So it's like it made like the orange things got a little bigger. This turned into a bit more of an orange. So this is how you can like emphasize things. So if you're making a prompt and some aspect of your prompt is not as prominent as you want it to be, this is one way to do it. So doing this is, so I have 4 parentheses now, so that should be pretty much the same as saying putting orange in 1 parentheses and having a colon and then 1.4. We should get the same result. Okay, a little different, so that might be 1.3, 1.5. I forget the exact numbers, but it's similar. So one thing you'll notice is that if we make this some crazy number, we're gonna break the image. So it's like generally between like 1 and 2. Oh, totally broke it. Or between 1 and 2 is normal. Even 2 is probably gonna be a bit too much. So we can also use square brackets. I actually have not done this as much, so let's see what happens here. Square brackets is sort of de-emphasizes that. So now it's a bit less orange. So I'll try like a few more square brackets. Boom, boom. So at some point, maybe it won't even be orange anymore. Yep, still a little orange, but like the chairs are a little more orange. So parentheses, square brackets, and colon, like numbers between 0.1 and 2, more or less. So next we're going to be, hold on a second. You guys, you want to start talking about extensions?
Go. Okay. Okay, extensions. So treat extensions as if they are like plugins. Like you can have multiple extensions downloaded online, available open source, and this GitHub link I'm gonna just now navigating. You can just reach there by just typing extensions automatic 1111, and it's a whole list of available plugins here, extensions in that page where it provides you all these GitHub links, which we will copy and install on our local later, but by just scrolling down and looking at the plugins that you can have on top of what Stable Diffusion is capable of is like enormous options that you have. Yes, we are gonna explore the compose for the ControlNet. So the two main extensions that we are gonna explore today is ControlNet and the forum. But I'm just scrolling down slowly just to show you how many other options available out there to explore, and I'm thinking they're already available on your cloud models, but for local you have to manually activate them. And just for the local users, the way to bring them over to your local session is navigating to the extensions on the very right top side here, and you will see the extensions already installed on the bottom side. But the second tab next to the install is available, and it already comes with the link that you can download all those available extensions from. And when I click load from, it's gonna give me like hundreds of available extensions I can get from. Just check for ControlNet and install, but you should be able to actually have it already installed on your cloud computer. And it's gonna read as SD-WebUI-ControlNet. That's the extension that I'm gonna show you how to play with. If you wanna add other extensions other than what we are looking today is this third tab called Install from URL, right? So here is the space that you are gonna paste the links coming from this GitHub page that I'm trying to find my way back. I think it was on this window here. Is that right? Or this one? Or this one? So it has up in right now. I'm gonna go back to the presentation to get that link back.
We'll share a link to that too.
Right. We are gonna copy that in the server. Okay, here we go. So here I'm just gonna show the example. Let's say we wanna get that PulseX. That's the example. I'm copying that link, right? And I'm going back to my extensions tab, install from URL, and pasting and clicking install. It's processing. One thing that is the best practice to do is to go back to the installed and apply and restart UI. If you don't click on that, installation doesn't get activated and it just doesn't process the new install. So for the local users, after you copy and paste the URL, after you install, make sure that you go back to the installed tab and reload the UI. Okay, so while waiting that, I'm gonna go back to our slide and show you guys how ControlNet actually is working, the extension that we are gonna focus first.
When you paste the Discord,
Yes, they can read me well or not. Can you paste that link? The extensions link?
Yes.
No, we are gonna do the ControlNet. I just copied the process as example, showing how to install the extension. It was just first thing I have seen in this page. So we are pasting that link into the February 8th channel. Okay, so coming back to the interface, on the bottom side, I'm seeing that ControlNet tab with this drop-down menu, and I click it, basically extends down, and you see this drop image here. Click the upload section that we are gonna upload those images from that Discord channel. I have shared the images earlier, just 5 minutes ago. So download those images there. We are gonna use them, and I'm gonna go back to the presentation to show some examples before we just dive in to the details. I got so many tabs open. Here we go. Okay. So so what ControlNet does is I try to simplify in this diagram. Basically, when you have your prompt, right? Prompt is tend to generate an image. While Stable Diffusion is in the process of developing that image, you are basically manipulating the process by inserting another information to the flow. You are regulating the flow or manipulating the flow. And to do that, you are using an image source, and ControlNet is detecting either the edges or the depth of that image, or the outline or the pose coming from the figure, and use it as a secondary data source to create that image that we are gonna have as an output. So ControlNet is basically a tool for you to get certain data from the image input. And you have the control over which data you get from the image. Some cool examples, I'm gonna scroll down again, is also in the GitHub. So this is also another extensive list of ControlNet options that we are gonna see. For example, the Kenny Edge, right? So Kenny Edge is detecting the images, all the edges first, and then using it as an input to generate the secondary image as an output. So here my prompt is bird, and I'm uploading this image as an input, and it's detecting all the edges and generating all those other options for us as a bird image. Same with that dog, it's kind of detecting the edges of the dog and giving us a similar pose, similar like the direction for the face and the eyes and everything, but with various options. Versus MLSE line is detecting only the linear lines, right? So on the contrary of the Kenny Edge, which is detecting more curvy and giving more like a sense of dimension here, linear detection is actually very useful for any architectural design generation ideas, or if you wanna like detect for interior elements, or for the facade generation, if you wanna test, like including the image first, right, the photo of the facade, and then using it as an input to generate the linear lines, and using that as an input and just generating various options that you can be more specific. You can say brick building or like high rise, or like it's gonna give you a style. I'm gonna scroll down a little quicker because there are multiple options, but the sketch is one of the way. The Scrabble it's called, and it's similar to how Matt walked us through earlier, like sketch to the image. This one is also giving us a similar access to the manipulating image through sketch. Another example with the hot air balloon and the sketch here. The human pose is super impressive one. It detects the pose, the posture of the body. It tells you like the shoulders are in red and the arms like it seems orange and green, like where the eyes are, where the ear is, like the face orientation. And you use this image as an input, right? And then looks like in the prompt, it says chef in the kitchen, right? So from this guy, the pose is taken and we are generating the images based on that. And same here, it's more like a standing guy, and we are generating an astronaut on the moon image based on how the figure is posing here. And it's more clear how the legs and the arms are detecting and the face. So this is, we are gonna play with it in a second. And depth, I have used depth a lot to work on a more spatial design, architectural design project. After modeling the space and getting the depth image as an export and using it as a like to generate the textures to overlap later in the design process. You can either import an image and it's gonna generate the depth image for you, or if you are 3D modeling and if you are exporting a depth image just right away from the modeling program, that also works as input. Scrolling down, normal map is detecting the normals of the image as it's a 3D object, right? So you see in this first left top image, it's detecting the normals of the bottom of the face as pink. It's more like directional detection for the normals and generating the other, like this cute toy is a prompt based on that input. It goes so on like it's like there are some other, yes, you have a question?
Does the depth map, does it have an alpha in it as well?
The alpha feature, this,
I'm just saying, can you generate a depth map with an alpha channel embedded in it?
good question.
It's possible.
One,
Yeah, it's not by default. though.
one thing you can do is you can use multiple components at once. So you can do pose and depth and like, linear detection. Like you can have multiple channels in one generation. So to your question, you can have the depth and another control net might take the alpha channels. So it's kind of,
Liquidating my brain right now.
And it'll generate an image with multiple channels?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually show you. It's a great question. It's a very simple setting. What's that?
I think they're working on EXR stuff right now. But it's not.
So to do that, I'm gonna very quickly show you how to activate it. The settings on the top part, the second tab from the last. If you scroll down all the way down to the control net, here the multi-control net section is set to 1 by default. But here in this session we have 3, meaning you can actually upload 3 different, you can use control net in 3 different channels, ways like variations and create image based on those information. And how it looks like when it comes to the interface UI is you have control net 0, 1, and 2 here. Yes.
Is it generating the normal and depth map or you're uploading?
Both. You can either upload the depth map, export it from the model, or you can use that preprocessor, and it's gonna create the depth for you from the image, photo, anything that you have. So depends on the purpose. But preprocessor is helping you to generate those drawings or like the depth map if you don't have it already.
Can you actually upload the control at GitHub?
It's in the Discord.
Is it?
But you can also install here.
It's in there, but
Also simply just Google control net automatic 1111 to find that page. I was scrolling down. Okay, I'm gonna go back to our slide for a second to show some examples. If I can find it. Yes.
The link for installation is listed.
The link for installation. The extensions?
Yeah.
Right. And I tried to install control net. But you are on the cloud, right? Okay, so quick screenshots of what we have scrolled through, like Kenny, Edge, straight line detection, Scrabbles, open pose, normal map, and the depth. So before I show you the live demo, I'm gonna walk you through this case study we have worked on last year using the depth control net for a client whose metaverse funded by Meta for a high school project. And we have been asked to design a digital mindfulness space. It's basically a space that users are gonna go to meditate. And we have followed the workflow of first designing the space and exporting the depth map from that. And by using control net, generated the texture map and projected the images back onto the 3D model. So the challenge was first the designing should be providing us the necessary surface to project on. So when you are working on projecting the image, you should be careful about how many separate objects that are blocking each other, because you don't want to project the one image at once and creating the shadow behind. So we try to minimize the number of objects that we are going through this workflow, which we end up having only 4. And it looked like this. The module we had was basically consists of 4 main elements. The strip, which is colored in purple, once you enter the module, you are surrounded by this purple ribbon, which gives us easily the surface area to project on. And the altar at the end of this ribbon, colored in yellow, has been generated the surface normals in mind, and the floor and the room is other element that we had used that mapping to generate images. So that's ideation process. That image input from the look when you enter the space. So using that is only gave us more like a inspiration ideas, but this is not necessarily what we are projecting, because we need to we had to generate separate images for each element. So after going through the altar design process, making sure that we have the best surface to map images on, here you will see how separate images are generating separate textures and how it looks like at the end when we map them over. So this yellow altar is basically what you see in this yellow highlighted box. And this is our input, which we are generating the image from, right? And then the whole space, the room, we are generating the walls and the floor, and the ribbon depth map is giving us that ribbon image to project. So eventually, the 3D element get that projection on it, that all these images has been generated in Stable Diffusion. And basically, that's how it looked like at the end. Oops. I think we have some slides mixed up here. Oh, we use ControlNet to generate the images by inserting the prompts, obviously.
Yeah, and then there's Dave wrote that you're using Unity, but like Blender and Maya all have plugins that will generate it in Stable Diffusion and project it on, and then bake it out to UV space as well, if you want to.
Right. We had to use Unity and like special script to make sure that we have the right angle we are generating the depth map from, and then same angle we are using to project the image to. So it had to be aligned. David, do you have anything to say about that script, the magical script?
The magical script was just a camera UV layout script that I made in Unity, but that's built into Maya and might also be built into Blender. So it's like you do a render from your camera perspective, and then you make the UVs from that same perspective. You take the depth map that you rendered, you get the texture back, and it's like it gets projected back on. And then does it make sense what I was saying about like objects being in front of other objects and like the shadow thing? So it's like if you have objects that it's like where it's like you have to make sure that your objects are things that can be projected onto without any overlaps. So if you want to have objects that overlap, you model multiple things and render out separate depth maps and like project them separately, but then you can use the same description and you can use the same seed. So even with different depth maps, they kind of come out like looking similar, like from the same world.
Yeah, that's how the 4 rooms we had for like 4 different meditation sessions has end up looking like. We try to make 4 distinct like images or the concepts for each like, and we also had AI generated scripts and AI generated voiceover, which is activated when you enter the room with the trigger. So once you enter the room, the voiceover starts to tell you directions and kind of a guided meditation. And it's actually available right now in online. It's a whole that's a whole like metaverse environment that they are providing training rooms and some other like workshop rooms that kids can come together, and digital mindfulness space is one of them. They are now providing.
Greetings and welcome to the Radiant Retreat. Within this sanctuary, you will learn about 4 distinct meditation techniques. Imagine your breath as the gentle movement of air and your body.
And you get closer, it
Welcome to this mindful journey.
And ideally, you are basically like immersed in the meditation space that we have generated. Matthew, you had to say something? Oh, sorry. I was just, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that's like one project that ControlNet helped us a lot to generate those images. I'm just gonna close it for the music to keep the energy up. And the live demo part. So I game, which game? Show it. Yes.
Sorry to pop in. So this is actually a game you can play if you're interested. Let's see. So the assets and backgrounds for this were all generated using the same technique of depth to control nets. And the titles for the games were made with ChatGPT, and actually I used ChatGPT also to generate all the prompts for the backgrounds. This is like the first pass. They're not all amazing, but you can play this game. If you hit X, you can go up through different levels. So this is another use of ControlNet in production.
Okay, so I have shared a few images on the Discord channel to play with.
So that game uses ControlNet, is that?
Yeah, the art assets were all made using ControlNet.
How did you use ChatGPT to automate it? How did you take the
Actually save that question because I'm going to come back to that when I get into the API, so we can go through the whole workflow for that.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time saving this image. I think I have mistakenly shared it. I'm just gonna download, just typing pose human as an input for our pose detection.
There's also a plugin that has a little puppet you can position within inside of Automatic 1111 and use that to create your poses. That's like that.
Okay, I'm having to like, okay, which pose I'm gonna pick to make it more clear, something more extreme. Maybe this one.
This way.
Oh, this is also bad. Oh my god, David, I'm gonna get a screenshot from here. Can I use your... Do you have a saving tool? Yeah. Okay. Just find any pose that you like online. I think the one that I shared was not a JPEG. Sorry about that. Just gonna get a screenshot. There are better ways of doing these things, but okay. So saving it on the downloads as a pose. Okay, going back to Stable Diffusion interface to play with it a little bit. I'm gonna go to text to image, scrolling down to ControlNet, the drop down menu. I have my spot to drop that image, but I'm gonna go to, oh my god, David, there's no pause here. On your computer, should I plug mine?
What do we do?
Okay, I'm gonna do that. But the pose is more fun. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. Or we just do Kenny for the pose. It's gonna work as well. Yes.
Where are you getting those models?
The one that comes with ControlNet by default when you install it through extensions.
Oh.
And also for the we also had that link to download the separate models for ControlNet in that pre-class email we have sent. You can also download them from there. It's just a matter of dropping them into the folder. Okay, I'm just gonna do the Kenny. Okay, so everybody has a Kenny option on their ControlNet. So basically just here when you scroll down, you will see that ControlNet tab, right? And when you click on it, the whole drop-down menu launches. And here, under the models, you will see several options for ControlNet. Everybody's okay with the Kenny?
It'll also select the right model depending on which workflow you click.
And they choose Kenny. Yeah, if you just click Kenny, it's gonna launch it anyway. Good point. So when I click that, it kind of launches a preprocessor and model automatically. I'm the Kenny. Okay, I'm gonna use that pose for Kenny. Wish me luck. I'm dragging and dropping that image. Choose any image you want. It's more like the matter of just having fun. One thing very important that I had to miss in the very beginning using ControlNet is that enable button. It's kind of tricky, like I'm clicking all those like stuff under the control type, but if you don't click on enable, it's really not activating the ControlNet. Okay, so click on enable, choose Kenny, and when I click on that button here, this fire explosion thing, I'm gonna see the preview of that outline. Yes.
So one question. These models, are they specific to Stable Diffusion for 1.5 base checkpoints, or they work for everything?
No? Okay. Go ahead.
No, there's different ControlNet models depending on which version of Stable Diffusion, particularly because of the resolutions. Yeah.
But for this model, right, like Matt?
Yeah.
I'm asking the question actually. These models, like the
Yeah, deliberate V2 straight.
Right, I mean ControlNet works for those other checkpoints.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so everybody click on that explosion emoji to generate their Kenny outline. So while you are copying my actions, I'm repeating enabling here, clicking on the Kenny under the control type, so it launches preprocessor as a Kenny and model here as a Kenny as well. And whichever image you upload here, it's gonna work out. No matter which image you upload, doesn't matter. When you click on the run preprocessor, you are gonna read that outline. Now I need some creative inputs, what to write here. David, what's your prompt for this Kenny image we have?
How about a cat?
A cat, yes, we love cats. Cat, just a cat?
A cat flying through the sky.
Flying through the sky.
So you gotta get an eye.
Okay, I'm checking if other things are good. It works fine. So all those other settings we have walked through today, like CFG or like the C, they'll apply to this process, right? I'm not changing anything, but you can always use those information for ControlNet as well. So I'm generating a cat flying through the sky based on that Kenny we have. Oh my god, we don't have any cats. What's going on?
Try putting cat in parentheses.
Let's emphasize on the cat.
Let's
Parentheses.
do parentheses.
3 parentheses. Okay, let's see.
Your CFG scale up a little bit too.
And the CFG scale, I'm gonna increase, oops, wait, so much. I'm gonna do the CFG scale of
And
9.
down control net, you say follow the prompt more versus follow the image more.
Oh, right. So that's a good point. So we have that option actually here under the control mode. You can either make the balance of the input image and the prompt, but you can also say my control net is more important. So it's maybe most likely not gonna do cat. But if you say my prompt is more important, we have more likely chance to get the cat right now. Okay, fingers crossed. Here we go. Oh my god, that's we need HR. Okay, this was a surprise, guys. It was not planned. I was gonna do the posing with this pose. I don't know. Okay, let's give it one more try. No photos, okay? No photos. Okay. This is like some character.
We are live streaming this.
We are live streaming this.
So you gotta do something. Okay, demonstrate negative prompts.
Negative prompts. Okay. So boobs, nipples,
American cannot handle
Breasts.
breasts,
Careful with it,
nudity,
You can say nude.
NSFW.
nudity, naked. We are gonna have a very conservative cat. It's gonna be boring. It's gonna be a boring cat. Okay. Alright. Still attractive, yeah. But a great use of negative prompting, right? Flying cat with the wings, or yeah, it's amazing. So that's the magic of Kenny. What if we use the same image? I'm gonna give it a try. The same image with the depth, right? Instead of replacing, but feel free to grab other images we have already dropped in the box. Now I'm generating depth map to that image, right? So looks like this image doesn't have much data on itself in terms of depth, right? Like some shades on the chest part, but it's giving mostly a white box. Versus, I wonder if I can get that other image here. Save image as. Oh my god, this is also bad. What am I doing wrong here? I'm trying to get a screenshot.
Open in browser.
Oh, open in browser is the one. That's the trick. That's the trick. Sorry guys. Okay, I didn't know about that one. Okay, so I have get this image, right? This is a photo, but has kind of depth, more intricate data on it. So I'm gonna go.
That one first. You want to see that one first? I'm kind of curious what that looks like.
Oh, so say it again.
Is there another view for the Control Z?
I was curious to see that same thing.
Oh, same thing. Okay, I'm gonna do it back. Yeah, that's a good way to compare. I don't think it has a good data, but let's try. Let's try the same thing with the depth. Good point. Okay, let's see what we are gonna have with the depth instead of the curve. Yeah, I mean, still something. Yeah, it works, right? It actually works pretty good. I'm gonna replace the image with this art piece we have here, and keeping the depth and clicking on that icon to generate and see. So here, this image is giving us more depth data. But as I mentioned earlier, how we have worked on that meditation space project, instead of uploading the image itself, we were literally dumping the depth map, right? So you don't have to go through that process of uploading the image and generating the depth map. You can literally just dump a depth map here as well. And you don't need pre-processing at the time. So, yeah.
So, yeah, all you need to do is turn off the set the preprocessor to none, and then
Right.
it won't try to convert it to a depth. It'll just use it directly as a depth image.
Right.
Or whatever image.
This is a noun. James, you have a question?
Yeah, so you only use the preprocessor if you want the extension to infer a depth map from a regular RGB image.
Right.
If you've got a depth map, you don't preprocess it.
Right. Like instead of generating that Kenny, right, earlier, you can also upload a drawing here.
Some chicken scratches or something.
Exactly. And it's gonna use it as an input. Which is kind of adding one more step. And I'm just gonna try the same prompt. That image which doesn't make sense, but let's see how it's gonna turn out. It's a whole various output we have, but what do you wanna say here? What's our input?
Turd.
Turd? Okay, turd, like that?
Yeah.
Turd. What's turd mean? Oh, that's what turd is. Oh my god, man. He made me do
I meant to
it.
say
Sorry.
Turkish delight.
It's not my first language. I don't know what turd is. I'm blaming him. You said Turkish delight?
Turkish
Okay.
delight.
So now you know where my
Carmine,
accent is
Turkish
from.
delight.
Oops, oh my god, I can't type with that microphone. Turkish delight. I'm taking it very slow, so giving you time to experiment on your own. You are getting some results already. So like,
That's pretty cool.
it's pretty cool. It's just like if you wanna make it more resemble to the piece, you can always play with the control rate here. So increasing control rate is gonna give you output more resemblant to that map we have. And also, if you say control is more important, right? We forgot to switch that. Now it's gonna resemble our depth map even more. And on top of that, I believe CFG scale, right, is also gonna affect. If I decrease it,
That's the prompt. Yeah.
it's gonna also increase the weight of the depth map even more. So I'm just gonna run Turkish delight again. So here you go, Turkish delight in the shape of this art piece. So it's more like resembling to my intention than just a regular Turkish delight. Okay, so that's the depth map. But if you click on the normal map with the same art piece, the output you will see is slightly different. It will detect the normals of the surface based on where they are facing, and I'm just generating now the preview. Until then, anyone has questions? Are you guys able to generate images with ControlNet? Already good? Have a better idea? Okay, so here, as you see, the normal map is looking way different than the depth map. It's looking more smooth. And I'm gonna run the same prompt with that normal map. And while it's processing, oh my god, there's a whole different thing. I don't know what's happening. David, we ended up having a whole cityscape. I think it's about the control. I'm gonna make the prompt is more important.
The model is set to none, because I don't think I
Oh wait, yeah, the model is set to
I
none.
only have a handful of those, because
Right.
if you have that, we can like try to switch the HDMI to your computer.
It's fine. So the reason that this didn't run normal map is because we don't have the model already installed here, and we end up having I think a Turkish city somehow. Yeah, so that's how you can switch between the control types, how you can switch between the extension like ControlNet different models, and it's a tool to manipulate the process. I'm just checking if we have anything else to cover. Just as a one line example, I'm just gonna activate the line art just because we have that in the option here. I'm gonna click on line art. Let's see what's the outcome. Okay, so here, as you can see, line art is giving us a whole different drawing. And when I generate the same prompt through line art, here is my other Turkish delight sculpture, basically. I can play a lot with the control weights, or what is more important. Is prompt is more important, or is the control element is more important? How much CFG scale you wanna use, meaning making the balance between, again, prompt and the input. Yeah, so so many fun things you can do with the control net, and I think we are all good with the control net before deform. Anything you want to add? If you have questions, control net questions.
Honestly, like to me, control net is like the thing that really makes Stable Diffusion like way more of a useful tool than any of the other AI image generators. It's just like it's super powerful, and you can like what we just showed you is just scratching the surface. But
yes.
Are you able to model an image after another image?
Model an image, like you mean like using multiple?
So am I able to like use that input to like affect the image that I can
Definitely. Yeah, so now this output is gonna be input, right? I just literally drag and drop. And now generating a new outline. Oh, it says error. It's not supposed to say that. It says error. I'm just gonna do it manually, save image as. I'm bringing it back manually. Maybe that's gonna help. I'm gonna use Kenny.
sometimes you just gotta reload the UI.
Just reloading your UI. I don't think it's my fault. Okay, came back to the UI. I'm going to control net. I'm bringing that image back, right? And I'm clicking on Kenny and generating. So now this is a Kenny generated through that image we had generated in the earlier step, right? So you can do like inception generation. That's a new term I just throw. Inception generation. Yeah, so that's control net. So much to play with, but it's basically a great way to manipulate the outcome by either using the image as a outline or the depth or the pose that we couldn't just show today, but it's basically the same thing, that detecting the position and generating the image based on that position we detect. Yes.
I wanted to use multiple control inputs here, how would I?
Yes, so here when I click enable, you see that the color has changed, right, in the first control net. So this is already running. When I go to the second one, I do the same thing. I enable, and in this one, let's say I'm gonna use the depth, right? And you dump a whole different image. It's a little experiment right now. Not sure it's gonna turn out, but I'm just doing this. I'm taking the risk. So in the first image, we had this Kenny input, right? Kenny model. In the second one, we had the depth. Totally different images. And I'm gonna run the cat. And let's see which kind of result we are gonna get. Combining two control nets at the same time.
Is there a limit to how many?
Looks. I'm gonna open the settings to show the limitation. There's a limit, but it's maybe up to 10. So here you will see it's using the input from the Kenny, right, the art piece, and that input from the second image, and then combine it in a way you can see that figure in the back and the drawing, and it's combined to control net into one. And I'm glad it worked out. To answer your question, when I go to settings and scroll down to all the way to control net, here I have 3, but you can do as much as 10. I was right. So 10 different control net inputs you can do at the same time. You guys like it?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
I have a question, because you've gone over a lot of material, and since I started playing with ControlNet, a lot of new features have been added on. So if I want to do a real strong die, is there a resource I can use besides just playing with all this?
Yeah, that website that I showed you.
That website, yeah. Okay.
And one other thing is like I have used text to image, right? But it works also with the image to image as well. Like it's same control net, same steps. It's kind of one more overlay into the process that you can maybe use some color. It can get the coloring, it can get the theme from the image that you use as an input, but also line work from the other image that you have as an input. So it's kind of, you can take it further to image to image.
What about, I see segmentation as an option. That's probably just an outline, but let's say I had multiple. Is there any semantic information that can be added to those?
I don't think I understood.
I don't think this particular one is that fancy. Yeah.
You can load a segmentation model though.
I can notice. So could I use the result of those segmentation?
Yeah.
As a segment?
You can, yeah. It's a little more advanced, but I've done it. Yeah.
Do you need batch processing if you had like 100 or 150 things? You batch process them in multiple control nets and then have the output in a folder with multiple results instead of one image at a time.
Yeah, there's a batch tab right there.
Yeah.
So you can batch, you write the input and where's the output?
There's an output folder.
Here, so if you just click on that folder icon, it's gonna take you right where all those images are being generated and saved with the date stamp on it. So those folders has been created daily, and today's images has been saved right into this folder, February 8th.
Yeah, that's great.
So it's kind of, you don't have to like go right click each time you like something, it does it save automatically. And when you do the batch, it's gonna export all those batch images out to that folder as well. I think that's pretty much it with the control net. And we are gonna share some info about the Deforum, another extension, the cool extension we use to generate videos. And David, I think that's you coming over. I'm just gonna switch the screen for you to make it ready. And here you are. That's you, yes. Okay, thank you.
Hey.
Oh my god! Thank you.
Has anybody heard of or used a forum? Let's see. So I'm just gonna load up this video again. So this.
But let's say we did.
Made entirely with a tool called Deforum, and it basically is a batch image-to-image process. So it uses all of the same things that Matt showed you in the image-to-image tab, but it does it for image sequences. And I'm just gonna pop over and load it up. So Deforum's a tab here. And when you start up, it has some defaults set up in such a way that if I hit generate, we should get something back. So what it does is it generates a first image, and that's a text to image, and then it goes from there and starts doing an image to image process. We can interrupt that and use an image if we want, so you can start with anything. But if you don't, it'll do the first one as a text to image process. So in addition to doing image to image, it will also apply transforms to each frame. So the way that this video works is it's doing an image-to-image process, but there are also camera transformations happening. So there's a 2D mode where it can rotate around the z-axis and also pan. And there's a lot that you can do with that. So like the easiest, simplest thing you can do is an infinite zoom. And if you get all your settings right, it just looks amazing and it just goes and goes. Zooming in works better than zooming out because when you zoom out, it has to fill in information on the edges of the frame, and it doesn't always do such a great job. So if you do want to have something like a zoom out, the best way to do it is to animate a zoom in and then reverse it after the fact. Same thing with panning, same thing with rotating. With any of those tools, you will sort of see where there are like gaps and there's stuff that's getting filled in. So for the most part, this video is rotations and zooms in and not as much zooming out. One thing you'll notice about this video is that it does have some 3D qualities to it. So it's not just 2D motions, but there is some parallax to these images. So the way that works is it will generate a depth image from an image, the same way we were saying with ControlNet, and then it will do a screen space-based deformation of that image. So the pixels that are more white will move more than the pixels that are darker. So it's basically a fake 3D parallax deformation. So it's pretty good. You can actually do things like rotate all the way around objects, and it will sort of fill in the gaps. Like, it doesn't know anything about 3D objects, so it's not really going to be like a real 3D thing, but you can give that feeling of rotating around 3D objects. There are also some tools to like set the camera focal length and things like that. So with this video, the camera is actually like it's like a long lens. I was finding that with a wider lens, the deformation was just like too much, and I wanted it to be more subtle. So I'm just going to go through this really quick. So run is basically sort of our initial settings. So it's similar to what you'll see in the text image and image to image. We can set our seed. We set our name, so we're going to get an image sequence out of that. Oh good, so it looks like this went ahead and generated. So if it did everything right, we should see a video. All right, so it's starting with a rabbit, and it's zooming in a little bit and changing some. Okay, so they have definitely updated their Deforum defaults since the last time I saw this. The reason that we're seeing it shift from one kind of thing to another is because the prompts are changing. So it's basically keyframing things at frame numbers. So at frame 0, this is the prompt. At frame 30, this is the prompt. 60, this is the prompt, etc., etc. So we can also do negative prompts by typing -- neg, and then make that a little bigger. So you can use this format. You can generate this text elsewhere and drag it over, which is what I did for this video. So what I actually did for this video was write a tool in Unity that analyzed the waveform of the song and then changed keyframes as it went, which was easier to me than using Parsec, which is a tool on the web that Matt's going to show you. Just because I didn't like the interface. And it's actually like pretty simple to like analyze a waveform and spit out keyframes like this. It's probably the kind of thing you could do just like asking ChatGPT to do it and using web tools. But I don't necessarily recommend doing that unless you are a coder. Okay, so hopping into keyframes, we have these different modes. Cadence refers to basically, you can, instead of generating a new image on every frame, you can generate a new image every other frame or every 5th frame. And in between those, you can apply the transformation effect to it. So this is a nice way to smooth out your animation. So cadence of up to 5 works pretty well. I think for that video, we were using like 3. It was 2 or 3 for that one. And so the idea is like you're getting frame by frame transformations, but then the image is sort of like half fading like from one to the next. So you wind up also being able to generate much faster. So instead of doing 30 images per second or whatever your frame rate is, you can do, let's say, 5, but it will generate those 30 frames applying the transformations to each frame. So strength, this is like the same as in image to image. We have the denoising strength, so that's what that strength refers to. So one thing I did with the keyframes with this video was basically like on the beat, the strength would change. So the strength is lower when it's sort of staying more similar, and then the strength goes up, or vice versa. I always actually like mix those up, which one is which. Let's see, do I have any examples here? So basically at frame 0, it's 0.65, and then we would say, at frame 30, it's 0.1 or something. So that's the format for these keyframes. And you can have as many keyframes as you want. You can have like one keyframe per frame if you want.
Since both of you, are artists who worked on this piece, maybe I don't know, we should show like 30 seconds or a minute of the video with the music.
Yeah, we did show the whole thing earlier, but we can play it back a little bit more. I can also talk about the process of us working together on that video. Probably the place where I wrote the code that made the keyframes, but Matt and I both very much we're sending each other back and forth the prompts for that project, and trying to remember where I saved that text file now.
Email it to me.
Can you email it back to me really quick and I'll load it up? Yeah, I want to pop open the text file that we made. So it was very much an iterative process, getting together.
We found the model too. That was when it's funny, we were at that time just using the basic models, and then we discovered all the new models you could use. And that was kind of a game changer, I think.
So this is an example of one of the keyframe prompts that we wound up with. So this is a positive prompt, and this is a negative prompt, and it does really make a difference. So I'm actually just gonna grab that same seed and show you what happens with the negative prompts in there. So we did not start off with this as the prompt. It was an iterative process of adding and subtracting and reordering and adding commas and adding parentheses. And I did part of it, sent it off to Matt. Matt did part of it, sent it back to me. So it was just tweak and tweak and iterate, and I think that we wound up probably rendering that entire video 20 times, and there are 16,000 frames in that video, so it was not a totally trivial process.
What does the order? How does the order affect the output? Weights, are they weighted?
Yes, so words earlier in the prompt have more of an effect than words later in the prompt. Something I was playing around with as part of putting together a demo for this workshop was I wanted to make an apple made of wood, and I found that saying an apple on a table, it's you get a nice red apple, but if you want the apple to look like wood, I wound up having to say a wooden apple made of wood, because a wooden apple didn't quite do it, and an apple made of wood didn't quite do it, but putting those together, it sort of internalized it and was able to really make a wooden apple. So yeah, you don't necessarily have to have grammatical prompts. If you find that you're not quite getting what you want, just taking chunks of words and moving them around can get you to interesting places. So this is not a grammatical sentence.
There is a suggested ordering though, subject, object, style, right? That they recommend generally.
I tend to do a painting of, or a photograph of, a thing made of stuff by artists at the end.
Yeah, and we can send you a link to prompt suggestions for how do you order your descriptives and nouns and everything.
What about exclamation points? We used to use those a lot.
Oh, really?
That's new to me. I'm not even sure what exclamation points do. What do they do?
They emphasize whatever.
Oh.
Instead of parentheses, and then commas are very sensitive for a while too, but I think that's changed.
I'd like to hear more about that later. Thank you.
English only?
It is. I have done a little experimenting with some other languages, and it does work. It works in Portuguese. Great.
Cool. I've worked
Sweet.
in it in Chinese, Xhosa, Small, Yiddish.
You don't have to change the setting, you just type.
Yeah, you just type in whatever language.
Cool.
It's actually the clip encoding is a good opportunity to talk about that.
Oh, you mean the characters that are
rolling?
Numerics inside parentheses?
I'm misspelling that. How do you spell huevos?
Huevos. Huevos. That's Spanish for huevos.
No, it's H, not J.
Yeah.
So talking about syntax, I'm curious if you effectively deploy the break keyword, and whether it's been effective in either SD 1.5
I was using break for regional prompting as a token that for regional prompting where you could like just prompt a part of the image, the bottom left, the top right. Other than that, yeah, I think we have a syntax guide that we're gonna put together and share with everybody. But yeah, also ask it in the Discord too. That way we'll always get back to it. We'll like review.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. That's like a layered question. So
Yeah.
especially when you're working with the forum, do you have to build an entire world here and then transition to a different entire world, or can you do like background objects in that same space?
Oh, like matting and stuff or layers.
Yeah, but so that they can occupy the same space. So if you're creating something as perspective, can you have objects that you're talking to differently or keying differently at different times?
Mm-hmm.
But like be more specific towards.
There is a tool called regional prompting where you can break up an image into quadrants and kind of talk to those separately. I'm not actually sure if you can do that with Deforum. Deforum's like a little dumb, I think, as far as like being able to get very explicit with stuff like that. I think you would have to do some post-processing steps to do some of what you're describing.
It's also only in screen space. There's not really any 3D volumetric prompting or anything. It's just sort of what you see on the screen. But people have asked that before about like we're just like matting stuff with foreground and background. And I'm sure that it's going to be an option eventually. I would be surprised if it wasn't.
Can you use Deforum to go from image to image?
Yeah, that's how it works. It's like it's an image-to-image process. So like.
With the images,
Yeah.
So there's an init image section. So just like right under here, use init, and you can like tell it what image to use as the initial image, and you can go from there.
But blending.
Oh, there's a video in it too. That's what you're.
Blending between images, though, using guided images, it is a feature that should do that, but I've even spoken to the developer of the forum and Discord, and it's kind of black magic how it works. Like, if you want to morph between 10 different images, it's a little tricky. Yeah, but the provision's built in, it's just been very hard to get it to work as it should. We were trying to do that a bit for continuing.
Yeah, questions?
In the forum, like let's say you wanted to base it off words, right? And just let it run from there.
Okay, so this is a project that is totally disconnected from a music video or anything. This was just sort of messing around with a prompt and just letting it zoom in forever. So there's basically, with Deforum, there's a balance between similarity to previous image. The more different it is, the more noise you get. From one frame to the next, but obviously the more creative it is, the more similar you make it to previous images, the more the odds are that the image can kind of get the effect of like when you Xerox a Xeroxed image over and over and like the edges start to get very hard and you can lose detail. So like something that'll happen is if you are zooming in forever and you are making images that are very similar to previous images, you can wind up just zooming into a flat field of color. Something else that can happen is edges will become like very hard. So you have to kind of balance how different each image is from the previous one. There are also options for adding noise to images. For instance, okay, I'm having the same problem. Yeah, okay, here we go. So keyframes, so there's like anti-blur and coherence settings, and adding noise like from image to image. So adjusting these settings will have an effect on how things work on a frame-to-frame basis. So do you want to talk about Parsec?
Yeah, and then we're going to go into training, right? Model training after that?
Yeah, I think that was it for the forum.
Yeah, I'm going to have to plug in mine because I had to put some command line flags to render with using my custom checkpoints.
Okay, yeah, I guess as a final note about Deforum, was sort of the original way to make AI videos, and it was out before there were any text-to-video generators. Now that there's text-to-video, I kind of assume that there's going to be less stuff made with Deforum. It's like a slightly funky process. I think that there's like a world of Deforum-generated videos that are going to look very dated very soon, but it's still like a very cool effect.
When you say you use any type of text-to-video yourself?
I've played with Pika. It's nice because it's free and it's on Discord. And Runway ML is quite good. Okay, so we got a phone here. But you don't have the right kind of
I had no idea
thing.
of USB-C.
Yeah.
There's no default, you can just set it. Yeah. Good. Okay, we're good. Thank you. Thanks, buddy.
This actually works.
Yeah. Okay, so we're just gonna. Dave is a very good coder, in my opinion, so. The whole thing he did about matching the beats from the music. This is such a janky setup here. Yeah, matching the beats to the music was actually part of what makes the video sort of, nice to watch. So, here's an example of one that I made for a friend in just. I probably made this whole thing soup to nuts in like an hour and a half, and then ran through After Effects. And is there no audio? Oh wait. Right, so you'll notice that when there is a BPM change, there's going to be like a change in the shitty resolution, sorry, video watch here. So every time there's like a drum, it changes there. And as I don't know really how to code in Unity or anything like that, I found this tool called Parsec, which is, the UI is kind of weird at first. Dave was not wrong about that. But it actually, if you just give it a little bit of time, I feel like it's pretty quick once you figure it out, and it's free. So that being the case, this is Parsec, and you sort of just like give it your image file, give it your MP3, and you set the threshold for when it should detect a piece of audio, and then it creates something called an event. See these little dots down here, all these little gray circles? That's an event, and you can then use those events to drive any parameter in Stable Diffusion, from the camera movement to the straight configuration, as Dave showed. And as you know, when you hit the straight, you kind of scramble the brains for a second to change the scenery, and it creates a spreadsheet. And here, these are all the attributes that you can turn on and off, which are all inputs that SD can use through Automatic 1111. You type in your prompts in here, your negative prompts. You can blend the prompts together. You can actually visualize the prompt blending, like with a graph editor and something like After Effects. So for those of you that work with animation software, it's going to be a little bit familiar. But you can see everything happening. And then all you do is you just go copy output right here. All right, saves out that text file, and then you paste it into the Parsec section of Deforum. So all that said, as Dave said, like Deforum was kind of like the OG for animating stuff. There are other tools out there right now, like Animate Diff you may have heard of, Stable Diffusion Video, or rather Stable Video Diffusion. So a lot of ways to skin the cat. I mean, you can still get good effects, but for people that want to make music videos or like drive their animation with something based on audio, I would recommend Parsec as a pretty good compromise if you don't really know how to code. All right. So that being said, we're going to move on now to the good stuff about training. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you pick that you wanted to just do like the hi-hat or only drums?
That's right. So you have two options. If you have the track, you can process the track and just export a different audio file. But with Parsec, you can also set the threshold and the gain. So you can kind of tell it what frequency you listen to. Yeah, you can adjust the sensitivity, and it'll visualize the waveform as well. And then you can actually see the events and delete them off the graph if there's like spurious ones that don't belong there. All right, I just need to get a little more comfortable here for a second. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm not recording.
Unity does something similar to Parsec with the sound, and